Okay, so we got all many equations here. Sorry. Here's basically what it comes down to. We're going to tie everything together we've done the last 3 or 4 days. If you cannot solve an equation the way it is written, then we're going to just rewrite it in the other form and then solve it. Okay, so all that rewriting stuff we were doing the first couple of, or the last couple of days, that's where this is going to come in to fix everything that we're going to do. Um, and I'm going to show you a couple of things because I'm going to show you one way we're going to do it, and then another way, if they ask you to show you something a certain way, we'll show you how to do that one. But we'll kind of walk through these and see. So, all right. So for example one, here's what we're looking at. We've got 2 to the x equals 16. Okay, so right now it's in exponential form. If we had like 2 to a certain power here, we could just punch it in the calculator and go. If this is the case, what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing and rewrite it in log form. And again, to put it in log form, the base is going to stay the same, and you're going to switch these two numbers. The 16 will go here, and the x will go there. And that's what we did for the people who weren't here yesterday. This is where we used our calculators because now you got your calculator, you can punch it in. So everybody punch that number in your calculator and see what you get. But remember how to do that on your calculator. Good. So just make sure on that one that you do log of the top number. Here we go. And again, make sure you close off the parentheses. That's the big thing you've got to do. Then hit divided by log of the bottom number of your base. Hit enter, and we got 4. So log of the top number divided by log of the base. All right, so I guess the question is, did everybody get 4 from that? Did anybody not get 4? Okay, and there will be a question on the test that you're not even going to have to rewrite it. There's going to be a question on the test that I'm going to ask you. Here's this question. Tell me, and it's going to say use the change of base formula, but it's going to basically say, what is this number? So you're just going to punch it straight in the calculator and tell me what's going on with it. Now, one other thing that they may do, and I don't know if this will pop up or not, but here's like a same question, but they may tell you to rewrite with a common base. And some of them, they may make you kind of make it, they might make you do a step in between. So this might be that step in between. Um, so some parts, and we're not going to do this, but we could actually do this test where we did like in 2 parts. We could do one part with a calculator and then do another part without a calculator. This would be the part where if they tell you to rewrite it with a common base, they want you to do it without a calculator. So if they ask you to do that one, here's what you would do. You would take 2x equals 16. So they ask you to rewrite with a common base. This is base 2. They're telling you that this number is base 2. So we just got to figure out that 2 to what power equals 16? Oh, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 twos. So that'd be 2 to the 4th. So if that's the case, If you can take stuff and rewrite it so the bases are the same, once the bases are the same, you can just throw out the bases, and then you can tell me that x equals 4. So there's a way to do it with a calculator. There's also another way to do it without a calculator. On some questions. Now, some questions you have to have a calculator, but some questions you can do it without a calculator. So we'll kind of show you both of this one. We'll do the first part with a calculator, then we'll show you how to do it without a calculator over here, just in case they ask you to rewrite it that way. Because there might be a question mixed in where they might actually ask you to do that. All right, everybody okay with those, with that part, doing it two different ways there? And again, test wise, if it doesn't say, you can just straight calculator and go, and then be okay. Okay, so for the next one, we'll do 3 to the x plus 5 equals 9. Okay, and again, for this part, we're going to go ahead and just do it with a calculator. So we're going to rewrite it, put it in log form. Again, if we put it in log form, we're going to put log. It's 3 to the x plus 5, so 3 is your base, and then you're going to switch these two things. The 9 will go here, and the x plus 5 will go there. Sorry. All right, and again, calculator check. Don't say the answer out loud. It's log base 3 of 9. Don't say the answer out loud. What number do you get? Just keep the voices in your head in that case. Don't let the voices out. All right, let's clear it out there. So let's do log of 9. Again, close off that parentheses and divide by log of 3. So again, when you do the top number, when you do your log of 9 at the top, make sure you close it off. If you do that, everybody get 2? Yeah. All right. Anybody not get 2? All right. Everybody got 2, so that's good. All right, so we'll do log base 3 of 9. That is 2. Now, you still got the x plus 5 over here on the right-hand side. So we still need to solve this equation. So let's subtract 5 from both sides. So x equals -3. Okay, so again, calculator gets most of the work. You do some of these, you might have to do just a little bit of solving, but this solving should be really easy. You're not going to have to do any factoring. I know you're happy about that. You're not going to have to do any square roots or anything like that. So the solving should be like that. We're just going to add, subtract, maybe multiply and divide. Get your numbers. All right, so again, if they ask you to rewrite this one using a common base, same problem. But if they tell you to rewrite with a common base, here's basically what we're going to do. So we've got 3 to the x plus 5 equals 9. So again, they're telling you this one is base 3. So they're telling you for this part over here, you have to rewrite it as base 3. But okay, that 9 is 3 times 3, right? So it's 3 squared. So we've got 3 to the x plus 5 equals 3 squared. And again, once the bases are the same, then you're just going to do the top part, what's in the exponents. So once you got the bases the same, then basically you can just chunk them out and get rid of them. So now we got x plus 5 equals 2. Same thing you had here. So then we got our answer there would be at -3. Okay, so if they don't say rewrite it with a common base, just use your calculator. If they tell you to rewrite it with a common base, you still get the same answer. You just got to show your work a different way to get there. And again, the kind of good news is if it's a multiple choice question and they ask you to rewrite it using a common base to find your answer, guess what? You don't have to. You can just use your calculator because I'll never know it's a multiple choice question. All right, let's show you a couple more of those and then we'll change up how the questions look. go 4 to 3x equals 1 over 64. Okay, again, we're going to rewrite it. Put it in log form, so we're going to have log. Again, we got 4 to a power, so 4 is your base. Again, switch these two numbers. The 1 over 64 will go there, and the 3x will go there. All right, again, calculator time. So punch, again, we got a fraction, so be a little careful with this one. But punch in log of 1 over 64 with a base 4. Punch that in. Again, don't say the answer out loud, but just punch that in real quick to see what number you get for that part right there. This will be a good calculator check. If you can get this one, then you should be okay on pretty much any log problems that we do. Okay, so what did y'all get for that one? Everybody got -3? Okay. Okay, and again, that number is -3. That's got to equal 3x. So then we divide both sides by 3. So then we get x equals -1. Okay, and then one more over here where we show you where you rewrite it with a common base. Okay, so this one's base 4, so we know we're going to rewrite this as base 4. And you may be going, well, that's a fraction. How are we going to get there? Okay, now if you go through your powers, 4 to the first power is 4. 4 squared is 16. If you do 16 times 4, that would actually be 64. So if that was 64, it would be 4 to the third power. Y'all remember what we do for it's a fraction if it's 1 over 64? Remember what one little thing we do different there? Make it negative. So if it was 64, it's 4 to the third. If it's 1 over 64, just make it 4 to the -3. Okay. And again, now the bases are the same. They're both base 4. So then you can do 3x equals -3. And again, there's the same answer you got right there. Okay, so if it says to just solve it, they don't tell you, just go with a calculator. If they tell you got, because sometimes again, they'll give you a problem like this and they'll actually give you like, missing boxes over here and make you fill in the boxes on that part. If they don't, then just use your calculator and go with it. But if they give you some of these where you have to kind of fill in your steps, you might have to do it that way. Okay, so for this one, now the next one coming up, there is no common base on this one. This one, you just have to straight up use your calculator. So this one's just a plain old solve here. Just 2 to the x power equals 3. Okay, so again, we're going to rewrite it in log form. So we've got 2 as our base, so that will go here. Again, switch these two numbers. The 3 will go there. The x goes there. And that part's just all calculator. Okay, so we're going to do log of 3 divided by log of 2. Okay, so that one, and again, we're probably going to round that off to like 3 decimal places. So we'll say that's 1.585 if we round that part off. And if it's a decimal number like that, they should tell you how much, how far around this decimal to get it to be where it needs to be. Okay, so let's do another one. It's a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. 3 to the x plus 2 equals 17. Okay, so again, we're going to put it in log form so we can use our calculator. So we're going to do log of, again, 3 is the base because it's 3 to a power, so base is 3. Again, switch these two numbers. 17 will go there. X plus 2 goes there. All right, again, calculator. Got to check it, see what you get. So log of 17 with a base of 3. Log of 17, close it off, divide by log of 3. So if we do that, we get 2.5789. Now, before that's your answer, big thing on that one is we got 2.5789. We got something, something, something after the end of that one. That's going to equal x plus 2. Okay, so that's your new equation. You've got to solve this thing. So then you just need to subtract 2 from both sides. So then, and again, you don't necessarily have to write that one down, but I'm just kind of showing you it's there. You're going to take that answer and then subtract 2, and then that's going to be the final answer we're looking for. So 0.5789. If we go 3 decimal places, 0.579. Okay, so if they give you anything in exponential form to start with, that's what you're going to do. You're just going to take whatever you got in exponential, you're going to rewrite it in log form, and then once you got it in log form, you get to use your calculator. Okay, so now we're going to flip it around. Now we're going to give you something in log form and show you what to do if they give you something in log form. Okay, everybody good there? All right, so everybody's good. All right, so for this one, let's go log of 2x equals 1. Okay, so what's the first thing it's missing on this one?
Base.
Yeah, we don't have a base, right? There you go. No base. That means you got to go back and put a 10 on it. So if you don't have a base, just know that that thing is really base 10. And that's what we're going to rewrite it. Okay, it's in log form. Now we got to rewrite it in exponential form. So whatever way they give it to you, if they give it in log form, you write it in exponential. If they give you exponential, you write it in log. And when you rewrite it, one of the two, you get to use your calculator. If that was just that, we could plug that in the calculator, would be good. But that x that's over here with log messes this thing up. We cannot plug it in with the x. So now we got to rewrite it. So it becomes 10 to the first power equals 2x. Okay. 10 to the first power is good because that's just 10. And if we take 10 divided by 2, then we know that x is 5. There you go. Sorry about that. All right, so for another log one here, let's do log base 3. Let's do it with 2x plus 1 equals 2. Okay, so this one's good. It's already got the base on it, so we don't have to throw anything in for this one. This one, we just need to rewrite it. Okay, again, when you go from log to exponential, it's pretty easy. You just take and cover up the word log, and then you switch these two numbers. So now we've got 3 squared equals 2x plus 1. And then from there, you really don't need a calculator. 3 squared, if you want to check it real quick, 3 squared is 9. So now you've got like easy equation to solve. You got 9 equals 2x plus 1. We'll just subtract 1 from both sides and then divide by 2. And we got x equals 4. Okay, and all the log problems should be something similar to that. Those don't get too much more complicated. Now I will show you one here in a minute where it does get a little bit different for this part. But before we do that one, we're going to show you one other thing here that we've got. We talked a little bit about yesterday. We're going to throw a little bit more at you here for this one. If you have a natural log, and again on the calculator, that's ln, like capital L, capital N. They could use a script where they like put it in cursive where you got like ln, or they could use like just lowercase letters where it looks like in. Because sometimes I remember that on the homework, a lot of times people will say, "Well, that looks like an en. I put en in the calculator." I'm like, no, it's still an ln. Same thing with that. That's not an I. That's an L. So whether it's capital L, cursive L, lowercase l, that's all still the same thing if you go through those. That when you do those, again, we're using E for the base. And we said yesterday that E is like 2.7. And again, that's not really all important for that one. The one thing that you won't see, and really what this thing is, when you see any of these three that's here, just think that that's log base E. You won't see that, but that's what those two things mean over here. So anytime you see that, just think that's saying that's the log with 2.7 as the base. So that's actually what that means, and that's just shortcuts for that part because it winds up being there. All right, so here's the big thing. Whenever you have natural logs, whenever you got these ln's in here, if you can get ln and e together, now here's the key thing when we put these two together. They have to be touching. The ln and the e have to be connected. They've got to be touching on this part. That if you can get ln and e together, they cancel each other out. And this is going to be like the easiest question ever. Well, maybe not quite the easiest, but it's going to be like a really easy question on the test and in the homework. And again, now here's where these two are a little bit different. They're going to ask you to simplify, not solve it. But you're going to have like ln of e to the fifth. Okay, and here's what's going to happen. When you have the ln of e to the fifth, I'm just going to rewrite over here. If you can get these two things where they're right beside each other, so they're connected, like they're multiplying or they're touching, they just cancel each other out. And whatever's left over, that's your answer. So your answer is 5. I know somebody's asking, are you seriously going to put that question on the test? Yes, I'm going to put that question on the test. That may not be a 5, it might be a 6, or it might be a 4 or a 17, but you will have a question that will be that easy on the test. Yeah, there'll be some extra. Okay, so let's say you have this. You got the ln of e to the 3x plus 4. Again, it just says simplify, which means you don't have to give me an x equals. It just means you just do whatever you can do with it. If you got that one, the ln and the e knock each other out, the answer is just 3x plus 4. Okay, and then one more over here. I ran a room at the bottom, so I'm going to put it over on the side over here. So if you put the e first, it looks like that. So you'll have e for the base, and then the ln will be up in the exponent up here. But again, they're still connected because they're still right beside each other. They're touching basically. They're connected. so the E and the ln knock each other out, that answer is going to be just 7. Okay, so that's the whole thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to get it so that the ln and the E would knock each other out. And again, if you don't believe me, if you think I'm lying, we're going to put in the ln of E to the 5th power. There you go, and the answer is 5. So if you can ever get the ln and the E together, they knock each other out. Basically, they're like a positive and a negative. They're opposites of each other. So if you got like a +5 and a -5, they knock each other out, get you back to 0. Same thing with these, that whatever you've got for these, they'll knock each other out, and whatever's up here, that's your answer. That's all that you got. All right, now where you actually use that in solving. So that's the simplifying part. Again, you'll have a few questions like that where it'll just say simplify. So you just tell me whatever your exponent is, basically. When you're actually solving, so to solve equations with ln, we're going to rewrite the equation so that both sides have E for the base. Okay, so again, it's whatever way they give it to you. You're going to do everything backwards. So if we give you something with ln, you're going to throw in an E, and that E is going to cancel that part out, and then we're going to use our calculator from there. Okay, so if you have the ln of 4x equals 3, so what you're going to do is you're going to take that same exact equation that you have, and we said we're going to put both sides of base E, so it's going to be E to the power based on that part. So we've got E to the ln of 4x and then E to the third. And again, if the E and the ln are together, they knock each other out. So that makes it 4x equals E to the third. Okay, now, and this is, I don't know if we've done this with a calculator or not, so now we got to get something new with the calculator. E to the third is going to be, it should be behind your ln button. Wherever your ln button is on the Casios, it's up here in the top right-hand corner. For this one, your E is there, so we're going to do second and E to the third power. Okay, so it's basically about 20. So we've got 4x equals 20.0855. We got all this other stuff back behind it. But again, we're not worried about that. We're still trying to get x by itself, and then we'll round it off at the end. So after we've got this, we need to take this number and then divide it by 4. So we're going to take that number, divide it by 4, and that's the final answer that we're looking for. And again, they should tell you probably to go to 3 decimal places, so 5.021. The 3 will not bump it up, so just say 5.021. And I think every question that has this, they tell you to wait to the very end before you round anything off. So if you've got a big long answer of the 20, where we had that, you just got to leave that in there. And then after you get that number, then you go back and divide it by 4 to get the final answer. Okay, so for example 2, same setup, just a little different look to it. So we're going to have the ln of 9x minus 6 equals 4. Okay, same thing. We're going to take this problem we've got. We're going to use e for the base. And we'll set those two things equal to each other. Okay, again, over here, the e and ln knock each other out. Gives you the 9x minus 6. Go ahead and do e to the 4th. Now, this time, question. We're going to go ahead and do e to the 4th. So we got secondary, e to the 4th. That's that number, right? Now, here's what you can do. If you're working these out and you don't want to write everything out, just put down what this number is. Just, if you want to put 54 point for a minute. We've got 54 point, all this other stuff back there. Because, the rest of the stuff is really not that important. We'll get to that at the end. If we're going to solve this equation, what's our next step going to be, though? Can add 6, right? So, yeah, this number is important, but we don't really need it to the end. So if we know this is 54 point, this number, you don't have to write it all down. Just write down the 54 point and just put some scribble back behind it. And we're going to add 6 to get that number. So now we got 60 point, all this other stuff back here. And then what are we going to do with it? Yeah, we've got 9x, so we got to divide by 9. And that's the number we're really worried about. So in that case, that's the number we need. That x is 6.733. So if you don't want to write down all that stuff back behind it, that's fine. Just put 54 point and just put scribble back there, so we know that there's other stuff that we'll worry about when we get there. But if you're solving it, you don't really have to worry about it all that much, because you're going to add, subtract, multiply, divide after you get the number. So everything after that, you should be okay. Okay, let me show you one more with logs and ln's here. And then we'll start back with e and show you how to kind of go from there. All right, so let's do the ln of 2x plus the ln of 3, and that's going to equal 4. Okay, so what's different about that one than the other ones we were looking at? All right, I think I heard somebody say there's multiple. You got 2 ln's, right? So if you've got 2 ln's, or even if you have, like, if this was logs, because again, this technically try it again. This technically could be log of 2x plus log of 3. So even if it's logs, you've got to condense those, and that's what we're doing yesterday. You've got to condense these things down to get one log. So we've got the 2 ln's. We need to have just 1 ln for this thing. And the condensing part, what we said yesterday was, if you've got a plus in the middle, you've got to multiply 2x times 3. So if you do 2x times 3, that really means that's the ln of 6x. Yep. So if they give you 2 log expressions or 2 ln expressions, again, you've got to condense those down to either, again, it should either be adding or subtracting. If that had been subtraction in the middle, it would have been 2x divided by 3. That was a plus in the middle, so that means you got to multiply 2x and 3. And then once you're there, now we'll do like we did before. We're going to take e on both sides. And again, the e and ln cancel each other out. That gives you 6x. And again, we've got e to the 4th. We don't have to write that number down. We just did that back here, didn't we? Yeah, that was, let's see what it was. All right, e to the fourth was that 54 point, all that stuff that was there. But again, we're not really worried about that number because once we got this number, we're going to divide it by 6. So we go ahead and take that answer, that 54 point, this thing, and let's divide it by 6, and that's the last number we're actually looking for. So 9.099. That's a nice one. So if you round that off to 3 decimal places, that's actually going to be 9.100 or 9.1. Some places will make you put the zero, some of them they won't. So we'll just say that's 9.100, or you can just say 9.1. Okay, so that's about, if the LNs and the logs, that's about the only one that's tricky. If they give you 2 logs, or they can even give you 3 logs, you got to condense those all back down so it's just the log or the ln of one thing, and then you can take the e or rewrite it ever how you need to there. Okay, gotta show you one more thing, and then after we show you this one thing, a few examples of this one, and then we'll wrap this thing up because we gotta show you what happens if you got an e here. Okay, so the last time we had ln, we took e on both sides. This time we're going to have e. We're going to take the ln on both sides. So again, whatever you have, you do the opposite of that. And again, and whether it's ln or ln, doesn't matter, again, which way it's written. Calculator wise, I think every calculator, it's always capital L, capital N. In the book, a lot of times it's one of these other two, but we're going to use the ln for the button we've got here. Okay, and this one, again, pretty quick on these. You got e to the x equals 12. So all we're going to do is we're going to take the ln of both sides. All right, again, on the left-hand side, the ln and the e knock each other out. That's going to leave it just x equals ln 12. Now, one thing I do know on this one, sometimes on this one, they will ask you to leave it as an exact answer with ln in the answer. That is an exact answer. We're also going to go ahead and punch it in the calculator and tell us what the rounded answer is. So we're going to do the ln of 12. That one, you don't have to do anything weird. You just take the number and punch it in. And there we go, 2.485 if we round off to 3 decimal places. Okay, so again, there's the exact answer, and there's the rounded answer. Okay, a couple more and then we're done. Okay, so for this one, we'll go e to the 3x plus 5 equals 12. Okay. And then the one thing that's different about this one, this is why we're picking this one, you have to have e by itself. That on the first problem, we had e dx up here by itself. It was good. Now, even if it's e to the 3x, that's fine. But the e basically by itself, that the e has got to be by itself. So in this case, we've got e plus 5. So we just need to do minus 5 first. Okay. So if we get rid of that 5, subtract it away from both sides, we got either 3x equals 7. And now that we've got that e, now we can take the ln of both sides. So we got the ln of e to the 3x equals the ln of 7. Again, ln and e knock each other out. That makes it 3x equals ln of 7. And again, if it was just x, we were good. We'd have the answer. But because it's 3 times x, then you got to divide both sides by 3. So that makes, and this is where you got to be a little bit careful. It's the whole thing is the ln of 7 divided by 3. All right, when you punch that in the calculator, just like if we had, log of 7 over log of 3, you've got to close off this number, so it's the ln of 7. Again, make sure you close off that parentheses and then divided by 3. Okay, and that's the only thing you got to be careful of with those is that, again, just got to make sure you close off that top number. So 0.649 looks like. Okay, so there's our decimal answer and there's our exact answer. All right, one last one and then we're done. Okay, so for this one, we're going to go 3e to the 5x equals 1974. Okay, and a lot of people are like, oh, there's not, we don't have that extra number at the end of it, so we're good. But if you put in ln over here, does the ln and the e touch? Nope. So before you can take the ln of both sides here, you've got to get rid of that 3 because that 3 is in the way. And since it's 3 times e to the 5x, that just means we got to take this thing and divide it by 3 on both sides. So then we've got e to the 5x equals, I'm going to cheat and use my calculator real quick. That is 658. Okay, and then you can take the ln on both sides. Again, that will knock each other out. That'll just give you a 5x equals ln of 658. And run out of room here on this one. So same thing, we need an exact answer, so we got to divide by 5. That's ln of 658 over 5. Okay, and then it's a calculator question after that. Then we just take and punch that in. So when they do the ln of 658, and I would, if you're not sure on these, just hit enter and get that top number, and then you can take that number and then divide it by 5. So we got the final answer, 1.298. Looks like we go 3 decimal places. Okay, and that should get you through pretty much every question that we've got to look at. And again, what basically when we're solving, whatever way they give it to you, you got to do something else different with it. They give you e, you need ln. They give you ln, you need e. If you've got log, you rewrite an exponential. If you've got exponential, you rewrite it, put it in log. And then once you do that, then everything else just should be a calculator question after that. Just knowing how to use your calculator and get through those problems. So.